Hi everyone, this is Rick, and welcome to Astral Club. Now, I know this is earlier than I usually download new podcasts, but I'm a little irritated, and I think you guys might be interested in the story I have to tell you. Sunday night around 11:30 p.m. Now, I had settled in around 11 o'clock at night. I was tired, and I'd made up my mind that I was just going to sleep. When you sleep and you're unconscious, you build energy. When you astral project and you're conscious, you use energy. Now, yes, sometimes you can refuel on the astral plane if you think about it, but it doesn't always work. At any rate, I just wanted a good night's sleep. So I made up my mind, let's take tonight off, no astral projection. I probably was asleep maybe 20 minutes when all of a sudden I became awake and aware of a sensation like I was being vacuumed out of my body. I tried to fight it, which is something I ordinarily do, but it was just impossible. The power was way too great. The next thing I know, I'm standing there in my room next to this pillar of light with radiating energy, with these vaguely human features within. Now, I didn't need to ask who or what it was. I recognized it as a lower angel. Not the arcs, the lower types. The archangels, the energy they emit, it burns like the sun, and it actually hurts. The lower angels, it still burns, but it's not quite as bad. Now, I know some folks would be awestruck. Wow, I'm meeting an angel. However, number one, I wasn't in the mood. And number two, my opinion of angels isn't like most people's. I think they have excellent PR. When you think of an angel, you think of that kindly mother image watching over a couple little children with a beautiful smile on her face. However, the angels I have met come off more like drill sergeants, harsh and more than a little haughty to my way of thinking. So I stared at it and I said, "Can I help you?" Immediately, there was a telepathic beam sent my way. Now, this isn't typically like human type spirits communicating with one another. That's kind of a soft telepathy. Or even reading the thoughts of physical people, soft telepathy with a little bit of noise around them. Angels, though, it comes across like a beam burning its way into your skull. So it's not the most pleasant sensation in the world, but you get the idea as to what they're trying to get across. Now, I'm going to try to put it in the best English I can that will try to give you a feeling for the message. It beamed at me, and I say it because I can never tell. It looks something a little male sometimes, a little female sometimes. I don't know. It's kind of androgynous. It beamed, "You are needed, follow me." Now, I didn't feel like it. I wanted to argue, but I've known that in the past, trying to argue with angelic beings is fruitless. It's a waste of time. They want what they want, and you're going to perform, and that's all there is to it. So I said, "Swell, lead on." The next thing I know, I'm standing outside of a funeral parlor next to this angel that just drafted me on this mission on a Sunday night. Well, I looked at it, and it didn't say anything to me. All it said was "bide," which is the best English word I can come up with, which the feeling was like when you tell a dog to stay. You're not angry at the dog, but you're just sure that the dog is inferior. And when you say stay, you expect it to stay. So I stayed. it went over, and just outside the funeral parlor, it encountered an old woman. And I was able to glean by the back and forth of the thoughts, especially from the woman. The angel is always more difficult to read, but the woman was very easy. What I got from her was she was expecting an angel when she passed on. And she was slightly stubborn. She had been met by a husband who had passed on and a friend who had passed on. But she was not leaving that funeral parlor until an angel came to get her. And she had prayed, in fact, for this angel to materialize, which is probably how this whole wacky mission began. So my pillar of energy took on that typical form that you've all seen of angels, complete with the cherubic face, the beautiful white gown, the golden/white wings. And the old woman, it said something to the old woman, something to the effect of, it is now time for your reward. And the old woman smiled and she faded away. Okay, I thought, good for her. I'm always glad when a soul gets to leave the lower astral. However, I have to wonder why I'm there, what my purpose is. I was waved in by my master, i.e. the angel, and we both went into the funeral parlor, and there was an old man in the vestibule, and he was puttering about like he was dusting. And I had the feeling, well, I had the message actually, that he was a caretaker who did some light housework inside, but really was involved with the maintaining the outside. And I had a feeling that if this was the daytime, I wouldn't have caught him inside. He'd have been outside puttering around. Now, why was he there? He looked like he was 1,000 years old, but he was also extremely stubborn. And the angel said something to the effect, pretty much the same approach he used on the old woman. It is now time to go on to your reward. Well, the old man, the old caretaker, was having none of it. He gave the angel a ration of you-know-what. And a little part of me was saying, you go, old man. And he's saying, I'm not leaving. I don't care what angel comes to get me. I'm not leaving because the caretaker that took over for me is doing a lousy job. The hedges aren't trimmed properly. The grass is too long. On and on he went. The angel tried to project some sort of calming energy to him, but it was doing absolutely no good. Well, I'm sitting there watching this, and I'm getting more and more irritated. I'm wondering, what the heck am I doing here? I could be sleeping. Instead, this angel has drafted me on this mission, and I don't understand what I'm supposed to do. So, losing my temper a bit, I kind of went in front of the angel, and I said, hey, look, old man, I'm not an angel. I'm just a regular old garden variety human. I happen to still have a body, and I went to the funeral director today, and I told him, I said, look, I'm looking around here, and your grounds look like heck. I think you need to fire this groundskeeper. And remember that old groundskeeper you used to have? Yeah, he was great. Wasn't there somebody who he recommended that you should use to take over? I think you should hire him. Now, I didn't know for a fact that he had recommended someone, but based on the type of controlling individual he was, because, to sit there and be stuck in a funeral parlor because you disapprove of the groundskeeping means you're a certain type of person who's probably a little pig-headed. And sure enough, I was right. He had recommended someone. Well, when I said that, he got this big grin on his face. And he said, finally, thank you. I'm glad someone is doing something about this situation. Well, as I said that, the angel did his little wave, and the old man fades away with a big smile on his face. Now, since I had told a little white lie, had expected to get a little, at least disapproval, if not some outright punishment from Mr. Angel here. But he just looked at me, and we went on to the last candidate, who now I felt sad because it was about a 6 or 7 year old boy, and he was dressed in this suit. And you could tell he was frightened. He took one look at the angel, and he was not comforted. He was frightened. His eyes got big, and he grabbed onto a chair in the funeral parlor. I stayed back and figured that the angel could handle a kid. So I figured my job was probably over. So the angel beamed some sort of comforting words to him and said that there's now a beautiful place waiting for you and some other high-minded type promises. Well, the kid wasn't budging. Matter of fact, if anything, he wrapped himself around that chair and said, "I'm not going, I'm not going." Well, I felt bad for the kid, but at the same time, recalcitrant children can annoy me at times. So we've all seen them demanding toys and screaming in the local Walmart. So I kind of nosed, pushed the angel aside once again and said, "Hey, kid, look, I just came from your mom and dad. Yeah, they told me they've got toys, they've got candy, they've got cake, and Legos. You like Legos? Yeah? Okay, they got Legos too. And they're waiting on you. So you better hurry up and go because they said they got to go." Well, the kid looks at me and goes, "Really?" I said, "Would I lie to you?" Luckily, sarcasm is lost on 6-year-olds. So he let go of the chair, he smiled, Angel did his thing, and he faded away. Well, I suppose I looked at the angel, and the angel said, "Adequately done. You may leave." And instantly, I popped up in my bed awake. And the first thing I said was, "You're welcome." But that's angels for you. All haughty and full of themselves and not full of a lot of gratitude for us poor, small humans. Now, I suppose you might say to me, "Rick, that was horrible. You shouldn't have lied to that old man and that kid." I look at it like this. The lower astral is not a fun place to be. And in a funeral parlor in the lower astral, I don't know where the old man and the kid went to, but they had a smile on their faces as they faded away. And it had to be better than haunting some funeral parlor in God knows where in the lower astral. I think the reason the angel drafted me was because they're not very good at lying. I don't know if they can or they can't lie, but they're not very good at it. So I think I was drafted for that talent. Now, I believe that telling the truth is by far the best policy. And as a married man, I can tell you that lying is always a very dangerous thing to do because my wife invariably sees through me and catches me, and I get in trouble. However, I like to think that lying in this particular case, especially when it was at, I believe, the behest of an angelic being, that I think at least this time I will get a pass. Well, that was the story. I didn't want to wait because I just felt you guys would appreciate this. And this doesn't happen every day. It's not like I got angels showing up every day, thank God, grabbing me to go on their little missions, especially when I'm looking for a good night's sleep. But there you go. Well, if you liked the video, if you thought it was amusing, you thought it was interesting, leave your comments, leave your questions. I'd love to hear from you. If you liked it, hit the like button. And if you haven't gotten around to subscribing, my goodness, do you need an angel to show up in your bedroom and tell you to subscribe? And while you're at it, why don't you smash that bell button and you'll get informed every time I decide to leave a new podcast. And as always, I will see you on the astral plane.